Hey there, fellow guitarists. Josh Rogers here. Hope you're all doing super well. In this live stream, I'm going to be covering three really amazing tips that can help actually change your chord playing game. I've run a couple of polls on the channel and on my other social media, and overwhelmingly, the thing that guitarists seem to struggle with the most, especially in the early stages, is changing from one chord to another. So we're going to be discussing pivoting, preparation, and guide fingers. So when you combine all of these three things, you can really change chords a lot faster. So let's have a look. The chord progression that I'm going to use is G to E minor to C and then to D. I'm using a D sus4 there, but don't worry about that too much. It's just to keep these principles alive during the progression. Just let me know if you can see me properly. I'm not sure about the lighting. So just write me a comment if I need to turn up the lights or something. So let's have a look. We've got the G major here. So I've got my first finger there, second finger there, third finger here, fourth finger here. Now, a lot of guitarists that haven't really thought about these principles, when they'll go to change to E minor, they do this. They take all their fingers off and then they put them back down again like this. Now, sometimes you've got to take all your fingers off to get to another chord. However, this you don't need to. What we're going to do, we're going to keep this finger on and these two fingers on, and only this finger here is going to move. So watch this. That's all I do. My thumb doesn't move. It stays in the same spot. And I just simply move this second finger like this. And I tuck it underneath there. Sounds like this. I'll try to just change my camera so that you can get a better view there. So I'm just moving this finger. Don't do anything else. That's it. A lot of people just overcomplicate it, and then they'll do this and all the fingers come off and then the thumb loops over the top. We don't want to be doing that. So from there, we're going to go to the C major chord. Once again, I'm going to pivot. So this finger this time is going to be the one that stays down. And these two fingers are going to go like that. So let's have a look at that again. There. And then this is going to lift off. And this is going to lift off like this. So you can see this finger and this finger, they don't move. So we're going like this. And then there. It sounds like this. So that's called pivoting. When you're playing the guitar, I sometimes think about it, it's a little bit like chess. You're trying to plan ahead. So you're thinking, oh, what's the next chord? What's the easiest way I can get to that chord? And it's a good idea to be thinking of those three things I mentioned: pivoting, preparation, and guiding. So we're just shifting those two fingers like this, from the E minor to the C. Make sure you don't lift these two fingers off. So they stay there, like that. Now, this doesn't just apply to like strumming. It could be for you could finger pick that and do the same thing. You know what I mean? So don't just think this is restricted to just when you're strumming the guitar or something like that. Now, the last chord in the progression is the D sus4 that I talked about. So this finger, the fourth finger, that's going to stay there. And we're going to shift these two fingers there like this. So this finger stays. This one is going to stay there. Nice and easy. So The next progression is an A to D to E. So we've got the A chord here, good old A. Now, this is a chord progression where a lot of people do this between A and D. They completely rearrange their fingers and they do this. And usually the whole wrist changes, the thumb loops over the top, and they go like that. So they're going. What we want to try to do is eliminate all of that unnecessary stuff. And just by the way, let me know where you're watching from. And if I can change the lighting or anything like that. I haven't tried this lighting setup going live before. So let's just take a look at this. Changing from A to D. Now, like I said, it doesn't have to be this huge drama where you're completely changing your wrist and your fingers are flying out here like this, and then you're trying to get them all on it back on in time. It's a really simple movement, and we're going to be using a principle called guiding. So this third finger is going to go from the second fret to the third fret. So you don't really lift it off. You just slide it along. So watch this. So I'm doing the A, and then I just slide like that. Well, it's called guiding. So we're doing that there. Nice and easy. Don't move these fingers off too fast. So don't do this. We just want a really nice, smooth motion. And these two fingers shouldn't move too much at all. My thumb basically stays in the same position. So I'm not doing this. I'm doing this. Nice small movements. The thing on the guitar, or I guess any musical instrument, is that you don't want to move more than you really have to. That's one of the keys of playing better with less energy, faster and more accuracy as well. Because if you think about it, if you're going to do your A to D change like this, and your fingers are flying out here, it's going to take longer to get them back. And like anything, the further something is away and you're trying to hit it, the harder it is to hit. So if we do this, if we refine that movement, we're saving energy, we're not moving as far, and we're increasing our accuracy as well. Just like that. And sometimes it's a good idea not to strum, just sort of go through the motion. If you're still at the stages where you do need to strum your chord to make sure that it's sounding good, then by all means, just go through slowly and make sure your notes sound nice. Just let me know if you think I can change the camera angle, make it a little easier for you to see. So we're going from A, guide finger, there, and then to the D. A, D, guiding. And then we're going from this D to E. Now, once again, we can use the guide finger, but this time it's the first finger. So the first finger is going to go from the second fret to the first, like this. Guide, and these two fingers come up together. Once again, a lot of guitar players, they'll do something like this. They'll have their thumb looped over the top, and then it'll shift again. So the idea as well, another idea, is to try to keep your thumb moving as little as possible. So if I run that whole progression, it's going to sound something like this. Now, I didn't move my thumb once. Let's say a guitarist that hasn't studied these principles could possibly do it like this. I'm exaggerating that a little bit, but it's just to prove a point that these things can be done with a lot less movement. That's a big issue that guitarists that haven't studied these three principles of pivoting, preparation, and guiding, uh, well, they just don't know, and so a lot of the times they're just moving unnecessarily. Something to strive for when you're playing guitar, and if you want to improve and you want to go from A to B, is to look and search around for techniques. And the thing is, a lot of great guitar players, they don't even realize they're doing this. Sometimes they're just doing it. And but I've had the benefit of kind of studying the guitar in deep, and I do know that a lot of beginners, they struggle with that. So just there, let's just recap on that. With the A, and then we're going to guide finger, the third finger, to the third fret like that. And then we're going to guide the first finger back like that. So we've got A, guide, guide, and then back. Remember, try not to do this, too much of this. We want to try to keep that to a minimum. I'm not saying don't, but usually the less movement, the better. So, like I said earlier, you can do all of these chord changes without moving your thumb. See, check this out. See that? My thumb. Don't move it if you don't have to, and keep your fingers close to the strings. Try not to let them just fly out like this. A lot of the times when we're playing, we get so caught up, trying to move our fingers properly, that we tend to only focus on the fingers that we're using. For example, when I'm doing this chord, I might not know where my little pinky is. So let's say I want to go from A to A7, something like this. So I've gone from A, and then I'm putting my fourth finger there. Someone that's not really thinking or hasn't really been taught might have their fourth finger it's sticking right out here like this. And so if you need to get it back to the G, which is there, it's got to travel from all the way out there, and then you got to try to get it there. And that's a long way to go to hit a very small target. So the idea is, try to know where all of your fingers are at all times, even if you're not using them at that time. There's a lot of chords where you only need 2 or 3 fingers, and most of the time we don't actually know where the other fingers are, i.e. the ones that we're not using. So that's why I say, if you're going from, say, A to the A7, make sure you know where this fourth finger is. Try to keep it close to the strings. See there? It's only got a really little distance to travel. But if it was out there like that, it's got so far to go. It's inefficient, and there's a good chance you'll miss. If I'm going too fast, or if you want me to cover something else, just drop a comment down below, and I'll definitely have a look at that. But yeah, just changing chords. You got to relax. You got to try to keep your thumb from moving around too much. Now, even though I wasn't really going to discuss this, let's have a quick look at how this applies to something like a scale. Let's take the G major. So throughout that scale, I'm keeping my thumb in one position, and I'm keeping my fingers really close to the strings. Check this out. Now, inexperienced players might do something like this. It's the same type of idea. So we want to keep our fingers as close to the strings as we can at all times. The closer we can keep our fingers to the strings, the faster we're going to be, the more accurate we're going to be, and the easier the guitar is going to seem to be to play. So we don't want to do this. None of this. We want to refine that movement. Also, another trick when it comes to playing chords well is to make sure that your fingers are really close to the fret. So let's try a G chord, for example. We've got our finger there, here, and there. If your fingers are too far away from the fret, it's going to be quite hard to make that chord sound good. So if I use the same amount of pressure, but back a bit, you can see it doesn't sound too flash. I can make it sound good, but I have to press really hard. And I don't want to press any harder than I have to. So a lot of people get sore fingers. Even professional players, they get sore fingers. It's just part of playing the guitar. However, you can delay the onset of that pain by not pressing too hard and having a really good finger position. And what I mean by a really good finger position is making sure that you're getting your fingers super close to the frets. So, for example, when I'm doing my G chord, my finger is right there, not here. Right there. Always tuck your fingers in as close to the frets as you can get them. See? There, not there. You'll be amazed how much more pressure you have to apply to get your chord to sound good. Whereas you could just shift it a bit closer to the fret and the pressure needed is far less. So if you've just joined in, this live stream is all to do with 3 main techniques for changing chords quickly, smoothly, and with a lot more accuracy. Those 3 techniques are pivoting, preparation, and guiding. So with pivoting, if we just go back to the G, E minor, C, and the D suspended 4th chord, we can see we can use pivoting a few times, which is just the idea of keeping one finger or more on between chords. So if we look at this G chord, and then I change to the E minor, I've only got to lift one finger, and it's just this one. And it's just a very simple, small, swift move from there to there. See, these 2 fingers and this finger stay on between the 2 shifts. Between the shift, I should say. Just let me know if that light there is too bright. It looks super bright from where I am, but yeah, just let me know. So yeah, just one finger, see? That's called pivoting. This is a pivot, and these 2 fingers are pivoting. So don't take them off. Don't do this sort of thing there, and then you take all your fingers off, and then you put them back down like that. That's a really big wasted effort, and you're probably going to miss a few of the notes, and it's going to take longer. So we just want to tuck that one in like that. See? There. These stay on, and this stays on. Boom, like that. And then when we go to the C major chord, I'm just going to move these 2 fingers like that. See? First finger and 3rd finger. This finger, 2nd finger, and 4th finger stay there. Now changing to the D chord, or should I say D suspended 4th chord, it's the same thing here. So this 4th finger is going to stay on, and I'm just going to move these fingers really gently like that. Really gently. Not this kind of thing. Big reset and then to there. No. See, it's sweet. Just a little movement there. My first guitar teacher, Peter Thwaites, he was awesome. And sometimes he just said, no, just do the chords without even strumming. Because when you strum, it's kind of putting some pressure on you that you don't really need at the time. So you can just do that. And if you'll find if you can't change a chord or chords to chord without strumming, and it's still a struggle for you, then it means you haven't really got that the second chord memorized, maybe, or you haven't really refined how to move to it like this. Yeah, you should be able to do this kind of thing without strumming. Because once you bring the strum in, it gets a bit more complicated, right? And then to go from I don't think I mentioned this before, to go from the D suspended fourth back to the G, we're going to pivot on those two fingers. So these two don't lift off. So I'm just going from here and then to there, like that. See? There, there. If you look at the movement of the first finger, it's really just going up 1, 2 strings like that. And that one's going over there, back to the beginning. So I'll just run through the whole progression and just take a look at what I'm doing. I should mention as well that throughout that chord progression, I don't move my thumb. So check this out. So I'm going from G to E minor to C to D. G, E minor, or E minor 7th. C, D sus4. Yeah, awesome. So make sure to drop a comment. Let me know what things you're struggling with, and who knows, I might go and do a live stream again and address that particular thing. So the next chord progression was the A to D to E. So we've got the A, and then we guide finger across from the 2nd fret to the 3rd. Remember, get that finger right in by the fret. Not back here, over there. See? You don't have to press as hard. Guide. These two fingers, just doing a really little move. Watch this. Just like that. Not like this, which does happen. Just a little move. And then we're going to go to the E major chord from here. So this is going to guide to the 1st fret on the same string. Don't lift it off, just guide along. And while you're guiding back there, move these two fingers at the same time. And they should land at the same time here like this. So we're guiding with this finger, guide. And by the time you get here, these two fingers should land as well. There, there. And I'm hardly pressing down. So you want to try not to press too hard. So a thing for beginners that you may or may not know is that sometimes it's really easy to get caught up in pressing the heck out of your strings. You're just like pressing that thing like you're trying to get wine out of your guitar or something. So we're not trying to get wine out of our guitar. You just want to be lazy as possible, but still get the notes. You're still going to get some little, string marks like that. Of course, you can't avoid that, but you don't want to be, really pressing super hard. So the ways to sort of minimize that, there's a couple. Of course, we try to get our fingers as close to the frets as possible, But there are a couple of other things. One is making sure that you've got lighter gauge strings on. So what do I mean by that? So strings come in different thicknesses. And they call them gauges for the guitar. Sometimes they use words like heavy, extra light, medium. But usually, most guitarists will refer to them by a number. So they might say, "Oh, I want some tens, or I want some 13s, or something like that." And that's always referring to the thickness of this string, the very first string, the E string. So the smaller the number, like say I want some tens or 11s, means it's thinner. So a 13, for example, is thicker, and a 14 is thicker. Now, the thinner the string, the less pressure you have to put on it to play it. So I could have the same guitar. At the moment, it's got 13s on it, but if I switch to 10s, it's going to be way easier to press down, i.e., I don't have to use as much pressure to get the same note. So here, let's say I'm putting 10 pounds of pressure on because this is a 13 gauge. If it was 10 gauge, I might only have to put 11. I have no idea actually how people measure pressure when you put them down on the strings, but I can tell you need less pressure. So if you're at home and you're thinking, "Oh man, my fingers are getting so sore trying to play," just have a you just maybe try to change the strings. If you don't know what gauge strings you've got, you can take it to somebody and they'll be able to tell. Or you just roll into your guitar shop or jump online on Amazon or wherever you get your strings from and get light gauge strings, like tens or something. Uh, People say there's a trade-off, like the sound's not as big or doesn't sound as nice. But in my experience, and I've done thousands of gigs all around the world, and I don't know, maybe to guitar players, yes, there might be a bit of a discernible difference, but I don't think anyone's going to come up to you and say, "Hey, why aren't you playing 13s and putting all your fingers under way more undue pressure instead of going tens or something?" So my recommendation to you is to check your guitar and go for some light gauge strings. Nothing wrong with it, man. Uh, yeah, tens. I'd go for tens on an acoustic guitar. Um, yeah, so that's one way to make life a bit easier on the guitar. Just go for lighter gauge strings on your whatever it is you're playing, electric, acoustic, or classical. If it's classical guitar, they talk more about tensions. So there's high tension, extra high tension, medium, and low tension. So it's a little different. If you're playing a classical guitar at the moment, and you're struggling with pushing the strings down and getting tired really early, uh, and you've got your technique down, you think, "Oh no, I'm cool, man. I've got my fingers right there, and they're right beside the frets. I'm doing everything I'm meant to be doing," and you're still struggling to get a good sounding chord. It could really be that. It could be the strings gauges. So if you're on an acoustic, try some tens out. Uh, you may need to get the truss rod adjusted on your guitar if you change the gauge strings, but in my experience, nah, not really. I mean, if you put some different gauge strings on and then your guitar starts buzzing and it never did before, yeah, you're probably going to have to get it adjusted. But I had tens on this just before, and then I put 13s on it, and it's all sweet as, you know. I think, uh, yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Now, another thing to consider, and this is a little bit more extreme because it's something it's difficult to do by yourself, and that's to lower the action. So, what is the action? The action is the height of your string above the fretboard. So it's probably a bit difficult to see there, but the lower that is, i.e., the closer the string is to the fretboard, the easier it is to play. It's just the way it is. The lower you can get your strings, or the closer, I should say, you can get your strings to the fretboard, the less distance you have to push down. So that's just how it is. But the trade-off is if you go too low, the strings are going to buzz. My guitar is pretty good, so I can't really show you that, but it'll sound a little bit like this. It'll have that kind of sound. So it'll be buzzing if you've gone too low. So you can change the strings to a lighter gauge, and you can try to have the action lowered. So I'm pretty lucky on this guitar. I think you might just be able to see it. There's a little Allen key thing in there, and that allows me to change not really the action. It's called the relief, but it, it affects the action, but it allows me to change the bending of the neck, how much it bends, and that can help me lower the action a bit, or raise it, either or. So those are another couple of tips that aren't really to do with playing. So lighter gauge strings and get in the action as low as possible. But anyway, back to the guitar. So let's have a look at that G major scale that I was looking at just before. I know I've digressed a little bit, but I would like to tackle this just in case you're doing scales as well. So do leave me a comment. Let me know where you're watching from and what it is that you're working on. So with scales, it's the same principle, really. We can get our fingers ready in advance, and we don't want to lift our fingers too much. We want to keep them close to the frets. There. Nice and small movements. And I should always know where my fingers are meant to go and what all of my fingers are doing at any given time. See, this finger, this third finger, I'm not even using it at the moment, but I'm keeping it close. See, it's not sort of flying out and around. But yeah, let's look at another type of chord change there from C to F. So we've got our C major chord there. As you can see, my fingers are close to the frets. And I'm going to change to F. Now watch how smoothly I do this. I'm not doing some big dramatic, oh my goodness, I've got to get to F, and then all my fingers fly off and then I try to get them back down. No. What I'm doing is I'm going to move this shape. See this shape here of these two fingers? It's actually the shape I need for the F chord, or part of it anyway. So I'm just going to move those two together like that. So that's the first part of it. And this first finger here, I'm just going to go like this. So you can see there. And then I'm going to bar across those two strings like that. So from the C, it's very subtle. It's almost like I fell off, you know, it's sort of almost like I'm falling off the guitar. From C to F. Those two fingers stay there in that shape, I should say. Just go there like that. And at the same time, I'm just going to bend that one like that. Same going back. I'm not moving my thumb either. So as I go from the C to the F, yeah, check this out. See? So the big thing really that I see a lot of beginners struggling with is that they're just moving too much. If you don't take anything else away, excuse me, from this live stream, just remember that. Try to not move your fingers too much. That's huge. Try to not move them too much. It gets players into trouble all the time. Their fingers are just flying all over the place, and they don't really know what they're doing. And then when it's time to shift, it's and you're wondering, why can't I get to that chord on time? What's going on? And the thing is, it's usually because you are unaware of what your fingers are really doing. So one of them, as I've mentioned before a few times now, is to keep them really close. Like when I'm going from that C to F, a lot of people I know, because I've taught thousands of people, they do this. Their fingers fly out like that, and then they just put them on back there. So they've gone all the way out there just to go, but when they could have just simply done that. But no, the fingers fly out. They do that, and then they struggle like heck to get them back here. They're like, oh no, 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 I've got to get them back there. And end up missing the strings or taking too long, and then the song has already moved on and you're frustrated, and it's horrible. Like I've been there, I know what it's like. I've been playing guitar for 35 years, but I still remember my first lesson. My first lesson was a shocker. I was learning Yellow Submarine, and I couldn't even get my fingers on the strings. I had to grab it like that and put my fingers on. That's how pathetic my first lesson was, man. I was just like this. I still remember it. I'm amazed my teacher even let me back in the class, but he did, and I'm glad. But yeah, so make sure you know what your fingers are doing. So from that C to the F, make sure that you know, okay, they just got to go there. So why would I do this and then just back there? No, no, no. I'm going to do that. And then I'm just going to do this with my first finger. I'm just going to bar it like that. See? Look at this nice shift. There. Not this kind of carry on. No. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, Josh, how do I get that type of control over my fingers? I hear what you're saying. I I don't want to lift my fingers too far. I should be aware of where they are at all times. Yeah, that's all good and well to say, but what can I do to keep my fingers in a good position and moving correctly? One of the age-old exercises that nearly every guitar teacher teaches is this one. So all I've got there is my four fingers all on their own fret. You can have them anywhere, any string, doesn't really matter. And you just want to have them all on and then see if you can lift just one like that. If you don't have control over your fingers, then that's going to be pretty hard for you. Okay. But it's a great exercise to do. Just lift one finger like that. And don't don't do this. Don't do that kind of thing. Don't let them go too far away. This third finger is pretty good because it kind of gets locked in anyway. Can't really go too far. So we don't want this. Okay. None of that. We want this little movement, little movements, little movements. If you could see me from the side, it's like this. Don't do that. That's a great one. And you don't have to pick or anything. You're just looking at your fingers and saying, oh, yeah, okay, not moving too far. Think lazy. Think lazy. That's one of the keys. I think just you're trying to just use the minimal amount of effort to get the job done. So when we go, let's expand this chord progression a little further. So let's go C, F, G. Now most people learn G like this with these fingers here. One, two, three. But you can just use different fingers to do the same thing. So I've got two, my second finger, third finger, and fourth. So if I go from C to F and then from F to G, most times a lot of people do this. They do this F and then their G chord would be the more traditional way of fingering a G like that. However, we can do it like this. See that? So I'm taking this shape and I'm just moving it up there like that. There, a little bit closer. See this shape? And I'm just going to put it there like that. I'm just transferring it. And I'm going to get my little finger ready, and it's going to go down there. So watch this chord progression. Keep an eye in particular on these two fingers. Watch this. C, F, G. This shape has stayed the same. So I'll take the other fingers away. We've got C, F, G. C, F, G. C, F, G. C, F, G. And the other fingers, they're just doing a little bit around the side. So that one, and then it just moves down. And then it's not used. And my fourth finger is used instead. C, F, G. C, F, G. My thumb is not moving. C, F, G. C, F, G. C, F, G. Those little tips help heaps, especially this thumb one. A lot of guitarists might do this. So they've got C, thumbs up a little bit, and then when F comes, this comes right over like that. And then when they go to the G, suddenly the thumb's disappeared, and it's like that. So if you watch my thumb, some ways people do that, the C, and then the F, and then G, C, F, G. And you can see how much my wrist is moving around there. Let's have a look. So C, F, G, C, F, G. No, you don't want to do that. Check this out. C, F, G, C, F, G, C. It's mean. It just makes your playing heaps smoother, and it'll make your chord changes like so less stressful and way easier to do. The less you can move your body parts, your wrist, your thumb, your fingers, the easier everything's going to be on the guitar. Not just playing chords and stuff. If you're into classical like I am, and you want to play some fingerstyle stuff, whatever it happens to be, you can use these principles of pivoting, preparation, and guiding, and not moving your thumb around too much like this, to lift your playing so much higher than it might have ever been before. So let's have a look at something like Asturias, for example, which is a classical piece. So here we go. Sorry, my guitar's a little bit out of tune. Okay, so that's the opening stanza for Asturias. So I'll just try to give you a closer look. So there, look at how my fingers are moving. It's just such little movements. See that? Not this. This would be another way to play it, and it's not so good. We want to try to keep our finger movements as minimized as possible. Like that, not. So if you've just joined the live stream, I've kind of digressed a little bit, but we're still on track. We're just talking about how much your fingers move, especially away from the guitar. So like in this direction, how far are they traveling? We want to try to keep that distance as small as possible. All you want to do is move your fingers just enough to get to the next chord or the next note. So if we're going from that progression, for example, the G, I'm just moving my second finger a little bit. I'm not letting it fly right out there and then coming back, or lifting both of these fingers off and putting them down there. No, just a little motion here, like that. Same with the studios. So if I'm there, I'm just moving my fingers a little bit. Nothing big, nothing like this. Little movements. Little movements. So, yeah, basically the whole point of this live stream is to help you with chord changes. As I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of people, the overwhelming majority of people in the 2 or 3 polls that I did here on YouTube said that chord changes are the biggest struggle. And if you can get your chord changes improved, everything's going to improve for you on the guitar. You're going to feel better about playing for a start, because there's nothing, we all know what it's like to kind of be playing along with the song, and then you've got to change chords, and then you're lost because you can't get to that next chord on time. And no, they're not. Well, no one's waiting for you. If you're listening to an MP3 or whatever, and you're playing along, it doesn't stop for you just because you can't keep up. It just keeps on chugging, and then you get depressed, or you get annoyed, and you just think, oh man, I just can't do this, or like, what's wrong with my chord changing? Hey Proto, what's up, bro? Yeah, so just these principles that I was talking about, guiding. So A to D, I'm just keeping it simple. I'm just moving along the string and then putting these there. I'm not doing some dramatic, all of my fingers fly off and then I'm trying to put that one on and that one on and getting there like that. No, no, no. Like this. Guide with this finger there. See this? I guide, and then those two come on. Watch the chord change. Yeah, just like that. See? Guide and a little movement. Don't do this sort of thing. There and then there and then there. We're aiming for that type of movement there. Smooth as. And it's the same with all your chords. So, what I recommend when you are playing at home, keep an eye on your fingers and ask yourself, is there somewhere can I pivot a finger? Like here, like this G there. Can I do that? Is there any option that exists for me to just move one finger? Or do I have to take them all off? Let's look at this one from C to the F. If I look at that, I don't have to take this finger off. It can just stay and go like that. And these two can just go there. Those are the things, like, you want to be looking for. Can I guide a finger like that? Like, is there a finger? So between two chords, is there a finger that stays on the same string between those two chords? Like here, for example. See, from the A to the D, this finger actually stays on that B string. So I'm like, oh yes, sweet as, I can just move it like that. That makes chord changes way easier. Just knowing that you can just guide along like that. It gives your hand, your mind, a feeling of security, because not all the fingers have to just leave the guitar. Got a couple of questions here. Proto, I was wondering if you could teach me how to do All That I've Got by The Used. If not, bro, I don't even know that song. All That I've Got by The Used. Well, the thing is, I'm a lot more active on the channel than I was for the last few years. I was away from YouTube for pretty much like 4 years. I was just busy with another business. And now I'm just fully committed. So you never know. I might be able to. Emo. San Diego. Chew N8 June. Nate June. Any chord to D. I fall off the fretboard or get fingers out of position. Muscle memory, I'm sure. From any D chord. From any chord. Oh, from any chord to D. So are you saying, so if you're traveling from a C to a D, your second finger, this one? I better make sure I turn it the right way. Don't want to go the other way, eh? People might get offended. So, uh, are you saying that when you go to a D from anywhere, this second finger is coming off the fretboard? Oh, yep. Okay, bro. So, I think you mentioned what, muscle memory? Yeah, I mean that's got a bit to do with it, but you can always change that. Just like anything, you can reformat the disc, so to speak. One of the good things, of course, is to make sure you can do a D chord properly to begin with, eh? And you can also try doing a D chord with different fingers, like that. I mean, I'm not sure how you're doing your D chord. There's a lot of ways to do a D chord. Like you can bar, and you can use your second finger or third. See that there? I'm just doing a bar, and I got my third finger there. So there's heaps of ways to do it, man. Heaps of ways to do a D chord. But if your second finger is slipping off, I would recommend just going to the D chord without strumming or picking or anything. Just no strumming like this, or whichever chord is preceding the D. So, for example, if like what I was just saying there, if you're going from an A to a D, do you use the guide finger? See that? And just keep an eye on your second finger. It may be, if it's your second finger that's falling off the bottom like this, or not landing properly, it'll just be a matter of possibly doing some exercises as well, like an exercise like this maybe. Sometimes a lack of accuracy with fingers is just because they're not very strong. It could be that your second finger isn't quite as strong. So I would just practice without strumming, going from your G to a D, going from an A to a D, from a C to a D, F to D, and don't put any pressure on yourself by strumming or picking. Just make sure you got those motions down. Yeah, bro. I hope that helps. Oh, 15 years old. Oh, I can't do it. Nah, I can only do songs that are, less than 6 months old. All that I've got. No, I'll have a look at that after this live stream is over. All good, Nate Germ. So, Proto, where are you? Where are you at, bro? Which part of the world are you in? Let's have a look at some other progressions while we're here. I was only going to do two, but let's carry on. So let's go from E minor to A minor to B7 to E minor. So check this out. This is a super easy way to do that progression. So if we go from E minor, I can simply move these two like this, and I'm going to prepare my first finger early to hit the C over there. So it's my first finger's not out here like this. See that? Nah, I've got it under control, and I know that it's going to have to go there for the A minor. So I'm going to get it ready early. That's called preparation. See this? So when I go to the A minor, boom. It's not out here. It's ready. And then it just goes on like that. See? Not out here. Here like this. So E minor. This is getting ready. preparing is what it's called, and then easy as to get there. So we've got E minor. Then I prepare this finger, and I keep this shape together. I don't sort of wildly let it go out there like that and then go there. No, I shift it as if these two fingers were one finger. See, watch this. There, and then together. So we got that, and then I'm going to go there to the A minor. Now, with this A minor, I can pivot with this third finger. Watch this. So we're going for the A minor, and I'm going to pivot around this finger. See, this finger doesn't come off. That's called pivoting. A minor, B7. A minor to B7. And then to get back to the E minor, I'm going to pivot on this finger. Check this out. B7. And then all I do is this. See that? It was so simple. This third finger just tucks up underneath. Pivot on this finger. Sweet. So that's what we're always looking for. Just simple motions. E minor, A minor, pivot, pivot. E minor, A minor, pivot around this one, and then pivot around this one. Remember some of the basic principles. Keep your fingers close to the frets as you can, like there. We don't want to be back here like this. No, 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 no. Keep your fingers as close as you can. See there? Sounds pretty nice, right? You can see my fingers are super close to the frets. Have I heard of Trapped? Saw them live. Nah, I don't think I have. I'm a little bit out of the scene, you know. I play a lot of classical music. I mean, I try to keep up with some stuff. My wife's South Korean and she listens to heaps of K-pop, so I end up like just somehow those songs sink into my head. Oh, cool, bro. Signed shirt and a picture, eh? That's me. I got a signed T-shirt and a pic with who's it? Joe Satriani. I think that's about the only guy I've got. Yeah. So where are you, bro? Mr. Proto. Dare I say Mr.? I don't know. I'm not sure if you're a guy. I'm just assuming. Yep. So just looking at these things. So I taught this piece on the channel a while back. It's called A Studio in E minor. That. This is one of those key things of guiding here. A lot of people struggle with this change. This one here. From the D7 to the B7. That is quite a tricky change. So what I've done, I changed the fingering from what Terega had suggested. You might be looking at this D7 or D7 sus4 and then to the D7, thinking, why the heck would you want to use these fingers to do that when you can just use these? Well, it's part of the thing I mentioned earlier in the stream about chess. So on the guitar, sometimes we need to be thinking ahead a bit. So if I had used this fingering here, it does make that switch there quite hard because I can't take advantage of the three things I've been talking about during this stream: pivoting, preparation, and guiding. If I did this, if I use this fingering and then tried to get there, I can't use any of those little tips to help me. So, by making this chord arguably a little bit more difficult by using these three fingers, it does allow me to use this fourth finger as a guide finger to the fifth fret, like this. See there? I could guide. If I just went like this, that's a lot harder to get to from this, like that. But by using this guide finger principle, I can guide, and it's it's a bit easier to get this third finger into position as well. From here, that's a bit trickier. But there, it kind of just falls into place. Oh, West Virginia. I mean, I haven't been out to the US, but it sounds like a pretty nice state. 38 special. Now I'm going to have a bit of homework after this, eh? So, if we look at that little section, and then what I do here is I get this finger prepared. See, I'm reaching because I know the next note is on the 7th fret. So the basic principles here that we've been discussing, if you're just joining the stream, pivoting, which is leaving a finger on between two different chords. For example, the G chord. If we go to E minor, this finger stays on. See? So do these two. Let's just use a normal G. So if I'm going from G to E minor, this finger stays on, and I just pivot around it like this. That's a pivot. See, this sort of thing. So I'm going to go there, and I just pivot. I do have to move it back a little bit just because I've got to fit my finger underneath. Yeah. I've heard of Radiohead, Blur, and The Cure. They're more from my era. But yeah, no, those other bands, haven't heard of them, bro. So we got that, and then pivoting there, and then from E minor to C, pivoting again around the second finger, like that. See, this one doesn't come off. There, stays on. There, and then to there. So that's pivoting. Now, preparation, I haven't really discussed that too much in this live stream. However, it is quite important. So let's say we're going from C to G. Because I know that I need this note for the G, I can do it like this. I can do C and then G. See how easy that is? C. These two fingers just go up, and this one goes down onto the 3rd fret. However, I want to get it ready early, so I get it there like that, even before it's needed. Usually, like if, let's say classical, I might have had my 4th finger up here like this. But I know the G's coming, so I tuck it in. Hey, thanks a lot, Proto from West Virginia. I will check out those bands, bro, and see what we got there. So all that I've got by used, and who else? Trapped. So I'll check them out, man. You have a nice day too, bud. Yeah, so I get this finger ready early, and there, see, it's just waiting for me. If I had it just floating around, like this, let's say like I had it out there, and I'm like, oh, damn, I got to get it there. But if it's already there, see, already there, ready, it's prepared, and then boom, I'm on. Not floating around out here like, huh, what? Like that friend that's never prepared, and then they always make you late. for something? Who's got mates like that? There's always someone. You got all your stuff ready the night before, you packed your bags, you had a shower and you're ready to hit the road at 6 in the morning. And you've always got that bro, that one bro that's running around trying to pack his bags at the last second, and everyone ends up getting late. Well, if your finger's sticking out here like that, that's that bro. That's that bro that's always late and making you late for the gig. So you want to get it ready. You got to get it ready, and then it's much easier. See, look at this little finger. So easy to get it there. Why? Because it's prepared. The very best guitarists usually have their fingers ready even before they need them in a particular area. They've got it ready. So when they need to do, the next note or the next chord or whatever, the finger's already kind of slightly there. This is really apparent in scales too. When a lot of people try to do scales, especially in the early days, their fingers are going a little bit like this. You want to try to keep your fingers nice and close and prepared. See nice and close. Awesome. Well, I hope you've all had a good time tuning in and that you've learned something pretty valuable. If you have, please consider subscribing and sharing this around. I'm sure, well, I hope that it could benefit a lot of beginners. And be sure to leave something in the comments if you want me to tackle something else during a live stream. But it has been a pleasure. It's pretty early for me here in New Zealand. I think it's about 6 o'clock now, 6:30. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're nice and safe and you have a good day. So my name's Josh Rogers from NBN Guitar. Peace out, and as you know, let your fingers fly.